I was 11 days into a mineral survey of the Veyron system when my ship's old registry woke up a channel I had never once heard active. Long Reach was not built for war. She was built to hang in low orbit over a moon, drop probes through the canopy, tell a mining consortium back home whether the rock underneath was worth the fuel. But she carried point defense turrets because every survey hull that went out past the compact border did, and she carried a deep grid registry older than any of her crew because that was part of the deal too. Nobody on board had ever read the whole thing. I had read the relevant page once, years back, out of boredom on a long burn. It said that under the original Joint Survey Accord, the one signed when humans and the Halvern Compact first agreed, this stretched of the frontier together, back before either side had decent sensors. Any signal broadcast under a designation called Class Null would be relayed, automatically, on a channel called Frequency 11-Null. Class Null meant a threat with no detectable signature. No heat, no mass return, no acoustic profile. The kind of thing a survey team 200 years ago couldn't classify, so they didn't try. They just built a channel for it, and agreed both sides would always be listening. Nobody had broadcast on 11-Null in my lifetime. As far as I knew, nobody had broadcast on it in anyone's lifetime. The Compact had moved on to better sensors generations ago and retired the whole Null framework. I'd heard that secondhand, the way you hear about a law nobody enforces anymore. Never formally withdrew from the agreement. So Long Reach's registry kept the channel open. You keep paying for a storage locker you forgot you rented. Because closing the account is more paperwork than the rent. The alert that came through that morning was a Class Null distress. Point of origin a moon called Veyron's Hollow, 40 minutes burn from our survey lane. Source: Watch Station Core, a Halvern Compact frontier garrison I'd never had reason to think about. I want to be precise about what I felt, because it matters later. I didn't feel urgency. I felt confusion. The signal was real. The registry doesn't fake these, but it came stamped with a designation that, as far as my charts showed, no living compact officer would recognize if you read it to them. It was like getting a fire alarm from a building that had been demolished. Diverted anyway. Standing order is standing order, and 11-Null had exactly one rule attached to it. If it fires, you go, and you don't wait for someone to confirm they meant to send it. Veyron's Hollow was forest from pole to pole, dense, wet, a canopy so thick our sensors lost half their resolution the moment we dropped below it. Watch Station Core sat in a cleared ring on a ridge above a river valley. Walls of gray composite, a landing pad, 3 watchtowers. 2 of the towers were dark. The third had its lights on and its door welded shut from the inside, which I only understood later. We came down on the pad with weapons hot, because Class Null distress or not, you don't land cold on an unknown signal. Nothing fired on us. Nothing moved that we could see. The ground around the wall was churned mud, and there were 4 bodies in compact perimeter armor lying in it, and not one of them had a mark on them that I could find from the ramp. No burns, no blade wounds, just down, the way a man goes down when something takes the legs out from under him before he can turn around. Halloran wanted to know, over the comm, whether we'd come in on the wrong coordinates. I told him no, this was the address the registry gave us, and he didn't say anything else, just brought the turrets around to cover the tree line while we waited for someone inside the wall to open a door. The garrison commander met us at the inner door with a sidearm in her hand, and an expression I'd describe as controlled exhaustion. Commander Thessa Corvin, Halvern Compact Frontier Service, and she did not ask who we were before she asked whether our ship's sensors could see anything outside the wall that hers couldn't. I told her I didn't know yet. Then I told my systems officer, Priya Adalu, to run a full gravitic resonance sweep, and I watched Corvin's face when the readout came back. Gravitic resonance isn't standard compact equipment. It's slow, it's expensive, and on a clean target it tells you almost nothing a thermal scan doesn't tell you faster. But on something with no heat signature, no mass return worth reporting, nothing for a compact sensor suite to grab, gravitic resonance still sees the displacement, still sees the hole the thing leaves in the air when it moves. There was a hole in the air 40 meters from the east wall, moving toward the wall, about the size of a large animal. Corvain's people had been calling it nothing for 9 hours. because nothing was what their instruments said was there. They'd lost 2 sentries to it overnight before they understood it was a single thing, and not a malfunction, and they'd lost 2 more trying to confirm that. By the time we landed, the garrison had sealed itself inside the command bunker and was waiting for either reinforcements or for whatever was outside to find a way through. A door it had already tried twice. I'm not going to make more of the next 20 minutes than they were. We had weapons that could hit a target our sensors could track, and now we could track it. Adilu called the position gunner. Matthias Halorance put 2 rounds through 40 meters of empty-looking air, and the hole in the gravitic display thrashed once, hard enough to register on Core's own seismic plate. And then it wasn't moving toward the wall anymore. It was moving away from it, fast, downhill, toward the river. We let it go. Nobody on that ridge wanted to chase it into the dark under that canopy, and I wasn't going to order anyone to. 4 sentries dead. Corvain told me that number herself, flat, while her duty officer was still running a hand count of the perimeter to make sure it final. She didn't thank us yet. She was still doing arithmetic. It was Adilu who found the source of the distress call. An hour later, going through Core's own systems to help them get the perimeter relay back online. The station's outer sensor array, original equipment, 200 years old, the kind of hardware nobody budgets to replace on a posting like this, still had the full Class Null framework hard-coded into its firmware. When it registered a threat with no signature at all, it did exactly what it had been built to do a long time ago. Test it Class Null, on Eleven-Null, to whoever was still listening. Jane stood in the relay room with the printout in her hand for a long moment before she said anything. "We don't use this designation," she said. "I didn't know this designation still existed. Nothing on my command board even has a field for it." She looked at the frequency code again, like it might say something different the second time. "We didn't send anything to Earth. We didn't send anything to anyone. The wall did. I told her that was about the size of it." She asked, carefully, Earth had people sitting somewhere listening for a channel the compact had stopped using before her grandmother was born. I said I honestly didn't know how many people. I knew my ship had a line item for it. That was all I could promise her. We stayed 2 more days, mostly to help Core's engineers get a working sensor suite installed that could actually see a Class Null threat if it came back. Gravitic plating isn't hard to fit, once you know it's worth fitting. Corvain filed her incident report with the Compact Regional Command, and I filed mine, and in mine I put down a single recommendation: frequency 11-null stay on the active monitoring list, exactly as written, with no changes and no review. Nobody at Watch Station Core had called for us. The treaty that brought us there was older than the station's walls, signed by people on both sides who'd been dead for longer than Corvain had been alive. Category of threat the Compact had quietly stopped believing in. The only thing that still remembered the agreement was a piece of hardware, bolted to a wall on a moon nobody important had visited in decades. And it had done exactly what it was built to do, the one time it mattered, to an audience that had also forgotten it was supposed to be listening, and was anyway. I closed my report with the 4 names Corvan gave me, because she asked me to. And because I thought someone on our side should have them too, even if nothing in our registry had a field for that either.